Born on the planet Serenno in the year 102 BBY, Dooku was one of the most skilled swordsmen the Jedi Order and even the Sith had seen. Forsaken by his parents due to his father's hatred of the Jedi, a seeker of the Order found him in the edges of a forest on his home planet and took him to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. During his years as a Padawan under the tutelage of Grand Jedi Master Yoda, Dooku had surpassed many of his fellow learners in both his connection to the Force and his prowess with a lightsaber. He was also part of the Hawk-Bat Jedi Initiate clan alongside one of his close friends, Sifo-Dyas, and other Jedi under the leadership of Jedi Master Terra-Sinube. As previously mentioned, Dooku was superior to his peers in many ways, which resulted in some being jealous of his power and sheer dexterity with a blade. In fact, there would even be times where he would be mocked for his aristocratic approach. At the age of 12, Dooku would attend the Galactic Festival, being held on his homeworld of Serenno alongside with other Jedi such as Yoda and Sinube. It's here where he discovers two other children being picked on by three thugs who are on the brink of kidnapping them. However, Dooku uses his powers to drive them away. He would eventually come to find out that these two children, Jenza and Ramil, were actually his siblings he had forgotten about after being abandoned by his family. This is one of the very stories that the Count shares with his future Sith apprentice, Asajj Ventress, as they get closer with one another. 2 years after the events on Serenno, Sifo-Dyas informs Dooku about his discovery of a journal belonging to an expelled Jedi of the High Republic era. This revelation leads to them learning about the existence of the Bogan collection hidden in the Jedi archives. As suggested by Sifo-Dyas, the pair of them break into the archives and unearth many dark artifacts, including weapons and scrolls. However, Dooku finds one more artifact that forces him to see visions of Tirataka, a legendary dragon-like and winged beast from Serenno once controlled by the Sith. This causes the Padawan to apprehensively send a force wave throughout the room, resulting in his friend being hurt and notifying the librarian of their presence. The two of them are berated regarding their actions by a disappointed Master Yoda and given the punishment of decrypting the Lothal Papyri, a series of agricultural treatises and manuscripts concerning the planet Lothal. In the midst of this process, Jedi Master Lene Kostana approaches them and hands Sifo-Dyas a book named The Bestiary of Darth Kaldith. Dooku suggests that Sifo-Dyas hand it over to the Jedi Council, but he declines. Dooku becomes very wary and begins to suspect that Master Kostana is secretly a Sith, causing him to address her on a balcony in the temple. Dooku questions why she would give Sifo-Dyas a book relating to the Sith, where she tells him it was simply a test. Not believing her, Dooku engages in a duel against the Jedi Master, and she eventually reveals that she's well aware of the situation with Tirataka. However, Dooku continues in his attack, eventually overwhelming Kostana to the point where Yoda actually gets involved and has to call off Dooku. Yoda scolds her for exposing Padawans to Sith artifacts and scrolls as a method of teaching, but in a surprising turn of events, Dooku actually gets close with Master Kostana, looking up to her as a mentor. As a matter of fact, in the year 86 BBY, after Dooku completes his trials, he wanted Lene Kostana to take him on as an apprentice because of his fascination with the dark side, which was studied by Kostana as mentioned previously. However, this would not be the case, as Kostana would take on Sifo-Dyas as an apprentice, while Dooku would learn under the guidance of Grandmaster Yoda. On one of their missions together, they journey to the planet Kashyyyk, where Dooku spectates as his master takes down a Tyrantotech.
I was telling him the tale of when you faced the giant Tyrantotech on Kashyyyk. What a terrible beast it was.
As time passes, Dooku experiences several events that shake his belief in the Jedi, such as the seeming lack of care for Master Katri's death, and the time where Sifo-Dyas has a force vision of a solar storm impacting the planet Protobranch. In this case, Dooku, Sifo-Dyas, and Lene Kostana bring this information to the Council, but they are rejected by Yoda, who tells them force visions aren't always accurate. This upsets the three Jedi, who ultimately inform one of the senators of Protobranch of the incoming storm, resulting in the three Jedi and Yoda, who hesitantly agrees to accompany them, arriving on the planet. Eventually, Sifo-Dyas' vision comes to fruition, and the solar storm kills many of the people inhabiting the planet. This event would bring about Dooku's eventual hatred of the Jedi Order, believing them to be corrupt and seemingly unfazed by those in need. In the year 82 BBY, Dooku would arrive on Serenno to attend the funeral of his mother, Countess Anya. Unfortunately though, Dooku gets into an altercation with his father, Count Gora, who calls his son a freak. Upset, Dooku leaves and decides to join Sifo-Dyas and Kostana on a mission to locate an ancient artifact. It is here where the three of them are deceived and led into a trap, resulting in Dooku being captured. In order to escape his captors, Dooku uses Force Lightning for the first time and murders them, this being one of his final missions as a Padawan. Acquiring the rank of Master, but not taking a seat on the council due to Mace Windu filling the spot, Dooku takes on Rael Averross as his apprentice. He trains Averross until he is a Jedi Knight and also creates his curved lightsaber hilt that ignites a blue-colored blade. Later on, Dooku would also train Qui-Gon Jinn, who would become friends with Rael Averross, with the three of them forming a close bond. Many younglings, Padawans, Knights, and even Masters at the temple admired his immense talent, and Dooku lived to be a revered Jedi Master who was close with quite a few other Jedi, although disagreeing with their code. This is, however, until he finally has enough and joins forces with Darth Sidious, becoming the Sith Lord Darth Tyranus. His fall from the Jedi Order begins with him betraying and murdering his best friend, sifo-dyas. He would also erase all data on Kamino from the Jedi Archives as a way to hide his new master's plans regarding the creation of the clone army, a vital part of said plan. Immediately after erasing the data, Dooku would be confronted by Master Yaddle, and the two would duel in front of Sidious, resulting in the death of Yaddle at Dooku's hand. In addition, he would also become the face of the Separatist in the Count of Serenno, doing Sidious's bidding while he lurked in the shadows, controlling both sides of the eventual Clone Wars. Though just before the start of the war, he would travel to Geonosis, where he and Poggle the Lesser would discuss the Death Star plans with other members of the Separatist Council, including Wat Tambor, leader of the Techno Union. They are soon interrupted by Obi-Wan Kenobi, but the hired template for the clones, an infamous bounty hunter, Jango Fett, captures him and holds him hostage with an army of battle droids. Dooku enters the room where Kenobi's being held and tells him that he wishes Qui-Gon Jinn were still here and that he could use his help. But Obi-Wan tells him that Qui-Gon would never join forces with him. This is dismissed by Dooku, however, and he reveals to Kenobi that Qui-Gon was once his apprentice. Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala are also captured after they attempt a rescue, and all three of them are sentenced to death. Before this could occur though, they are saved by a fleet of Jedi and a brand new battalion of clones. Subsequently, Dooku attempts to flee but is cut off by Kenobi and Skywalker, where they engage in a 2-on-1 battle. Nonetheless, Dooku defeats both Jedi with relative ease.
At last, Jedi, you are no match for the power of the dark side.
Yoda eventually arrives to support a defeated Obi-Wan and Anakin, but in a shocking series of events, Dooku stalemates the Grandmaster before finally retreating.
I have become more powerful than any Jedi, even you, Master Yoda.
In this same year, 22 BBY, the Clone Wars would officially commence, and Dooku would accumulate 2 Jedi hunting warriors in General Grievous, a cyborg and commander of the droid army, equipped and trained by Dooku himself to defeat Jedi Padawans and Knights, and Asajj Ventress, a former Jedi, becomes Sith assassin. Something many people aren't aware of is that Dooku also actually killed his sister, Jenza, after she begged him to return to the light side. Furthermore, at the start of the Clone Wars, Dooku would have Jabba the Hutt's son, Rada the Hutt, kidnapped with the help of Jabba's uncle, Zero the Hutt, so he could frame the Jedi for the incident, allowing his apprentice, Ventress, to bring Rada the Hutt back to gain Jabba's favor, allowing the Separatists to travel through Hutt-owned territory. This would ultimately fail, but didn't stop Palpatine and Dooku from devising more devious plans, as his next endeavor would be to negotiate with King Katunko and the rest of the Toydarians to gain Separatist control over Ragosa. After this failed, Dooku and Grievous would oversee the creation and use of the Malevolence, utilizing its ion cannon to deadly effect against the Republic. However, this too would eventually fail after being destroyed by Anakin Skywalker. In 21 BBY, Dooku would be captured along with Kenobi and Skywalker by Hondo Ohnaka and his band of pirates on the planet Florum, although they would free themselves in due course by slowly working together after multiple attempts of escape. Shortly after this, and to the dismay of Dooku, Sidious orders him to betray his apprentice, Asajj Ventress, as a way of preventing Dooku from potentially betraying him.
I would hate to think that you're training your own Sith apprentice to destroy me. Never, my lord. My allegiance is to you, and only you. Then you must prove it. Eliminate her. As you wish, my master.
Sidious did not want Ventress getting strong enough to the point where both her and Dooku could match him in a 2-on-1 scenario, ergo ordering her destruction and betrayal by Dooku. He soon proves his loyalty and remains on good terms with Palpatine after ordering Ventress's ship to be attacked. However, she would survive and soon conspire with Mother Talzin and 2 Night Sisters on Dathomir, attacking Dooku during his rest on his home planet of Serenno after using a dart to weaken his senses and distort his vision. As you might expect, this does not bode well for the 3 Night Sisters, as Dooku, even with the disadvantage, is one of the most, if not the most, talented and proficient duelists in this era, swiftly defeating all 3 witches. You must also consider the fact that only one of them, that being Ventress, had any experience at all with the lightsaber. It was also in this same year, shortly after Ventress's failed ambush, where Dooku travels to Dathomir to receive Talzin's promised new apprentice for Dooku that she offered him. What Dooku is not aware of is that it is a trap for him, as his supposed new apprentice, Asajj Oppressed, a night brother enhanced by Talzin's magic, is actually working for Ventress, although not so long after Dooku begins training Asajj does he turn on him and Ventress in the quest of finding his brother, the sinister Darth Maul. As the Clone Wars advance, Dooku attempts to amass numerous planets to the Separatist cause, including Mon Cala, Naboo, Zygeria, Onderon, and etc. He would also order Grievous and the droid army to exterminate the witches of Dathomir, and succeeds for the most part. On this same topic, he would also be brought to Dathomir later on, towards the end of the war, by Darth Maul, Brother Viscus and the Night Brothers, and the Death Watch, to be presented in front of Mother Talzin in order for her to use his body as a medium to take physical shape once more. However, Sidious and Grievous arrive, and the three of them kill Mother Talzin, while Maul and the Shadow Collective flee. Just before the conclusion to the Clone Wars, the Jedi start to further investigate the death of sifo-dyas, and Anakin and Obi-Wan eventually travel to Obadiah, where they would find former Chancellor Valorum's aide, Silman, in a cell being held by the Pike Syndicate. But before they could learn more, Dooku murders Silman and begins dueling against the two Jedi. Dooku escapes after being attacked by both the Jedi and the Pikes, living only another year. As finally, in the year 19 BBY, after surviving an assassination attempt by Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Vos, Dooku's luck would unfortunately run out, as he would be bested in combat and terminated by Anakin Skywalker on the Invisible Hand, on the order of Chancellor Palpatine, who was secretly the ominous Darth Sidious, as revealed by himself to Anakin later that year. Dooku's age had finally caught up to him, and his taunting having the opposite effect on Anakin, are what really cost him his life at the hands of the Chosen One, who would ultimately replace him as Sidious's fabled Sith apprentice. All in all, there are several reasons as to why Dooku chose to leave the Order, such as his disappointment in their ability to help those in need across the galaxy, and possibly because of the death of his apprentice, Qui-Gon Jinn. But anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really wanted to do one of these history of videos on Dooku because I think he's one of the most underrated characters in Star Wars and a favorite of mine. Anyway, have a great day. See ya.